Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Wonderful. Yes, a very good evening to all. Today is a very important day. We have to cover something very critical, very crucial. And I hope you remember in yesterday's session, we spoke about something called as building generative AI applications. And how many total ways did I discuss in yesterday's session? I spoke about two different ways. If you can remember, let me try to remind you. When we have to build a generative AI application, one way is to use no code tool. What was the no code tool we saw yesterday? The tool was called as Langflow, whereas you also have a coding way. In case if you have to go for coding in order to design the generative AI application, we will use LangChain. In which programming language? In Python programming language to design the application. Now, before I start demonstrating anything, let's take a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes, to understand something critical which we have already discussed yesterday. But in order to understand today's session, these topics are going to be critical. The first thing is, do you remember that an application, a custom application, let me try to write it in this way, custom generative AI application. Custom generative AI application. Can you tell me how many components a custom generative AI application is going to have? How many components are going to be there inside a custom generative AI application? Amazing. There'll be three components. Let's name these three components as well one by one. The first component, is called as context builder. Amazing. The first component is called as context builder. Second component is the large language model itself. And the third component is called as output parser. Output parser. Whose output is going to be parsed? The LLM's output is going to be parsed by this particular output parser. And how are all these components connected inside an application? Please note that today, as I mentioned, we will be doing what today? We will be building generative AI custom applications today. In order to build these custom generative AI application, we need to understand how to design our application, which contains context. We will design this component called as context builder today. We will also design another component called as LLM component today, along with the output parser. Got it? Along with the output parser. Tell me what will be the input to an application called? What do we call an input to this application? Yes. What kind of a prompt? Do we just call it a prompt, or is there a type to this prompt? We call this as human prompt. Amazing. Wonderful. What do we call the output of this application? You can call it as a response. You can call it as a response. Please note, completion is the output of your entire application, or is it an output of some component inside this application? Yes. Completion is an output of large language model, and that completion is going to be fed into something called as the output parser. And the job of output parser is going to be to generate a response. And today in this session, we will see some details on how to design this entire application. And what this entire application is supposed to do, we will try to cover all of that in today's discussion. Is this entire idea clear to all of us? Can you tell me what is the input to LLM called? The input to LLM, is it called a prompt or is it called something else we saw yesterday? Yes. Input to LLM is called a context. Please remember, input to LLM is called as a context. Who builds this context for LLM? The first component. The context builder's job is to create the context for large language model. Now the question is, what will be the component, like what will this context contain? Can you tell me what will the context contain? Yes, Niyukti has clearly answered that question. Context is going to contain not just human prompt. Context will not just contain a human prompt, but it will also contain something called as a system prompt. Is this part clear to all of us? What is the difference between system prompt and the human prompt? What's the difference between system prompt and the human prompt? System prompt is the prompt given by the developer of application, whereas human prompt is given by the user of application. Is it a good idea to demonstrate or show user of the application what a system prompt looks like? Let's say you have designed your application. Do you want to reveal your entire application code? Do you want to reveal your entire application system prompt? Never. All right. So it's always a good idea to keep your system prompt protected inside this context builder so that nobody gets the access to your system prompt. It should be hidden, correct, Sagar? If somebody gets to know your system prompt, they can do some malicious prompting here. They can write some malicious prompts here, which can impact your entire application. Yes, as Mahajan has mentioned, hacking. Typically, people who try to hack our application, they will try to do something called as prompt injection. All right. The process of hacking a generative AI application is typically done using something called as prompt injection. All right. And in case if somebody has already seen your context builder, or if somebody or a user is able to identify what is there inside the context builder, there is a very high chance that they will be able to write some prompt that can trick your system in believing something else than what it is supposed to actually believe in. How many of you are able to understand this? If yes, can you quickly rate your understanding on a scale of 1 to 5 on this topic? As of now, we didn't cover anything, just a quick revision of what we have seen yesterday. Now, do you remember if, let's say, I have developed an application like this? Let me try to ask you one very interesting question. We have already seen this yesterday, but I want to see how many of you remember this. All right, so be ready to answer this question. Let's say the user interface of this application is like a chat interface. We have a chat interface for this entire application. In this chat interface, let's say the first human prompt is like this. Hi, my name is Karan. Now, what is going to happen? This human prompt is going to travel to the context builder. Do you all agree with that? This human prompt is going to travel to the context builder. What will be the job of context builder? What will be the job of context builder? Context builder's job is going to be to build the context. Remember, context builder's job is to build the context. Now, what will be included in the context? What will be included or what will be appended to this human instruction? Yes, maybe add the system prompt to this human instruction. Do not directly just provide bare minimum human instruction to the LLM. Try to add something else called as system prompt to this instruction so that system prompt along with the human prompt can go to the large language model so that LLM can start building completions out of it. Is this part clear to all of us? Is this part clear to all of us? Now, given this human prompt, maybe LLM is going to respond back saying this, hi Kanav. Maybe the response of LLM, the completion of LLM will be something like this. Hi Kanav, how may I help you today? How may I help you today. And this response, this response is going to be parsed by this output parser. I will explain you what is the meaning of parsing in a moment. But remember, after parsing, a clean response will be displayed on the screen just like this. Is this part clear to you? Right? On the left-hand side, you can see what human sends and what human receives. Now, what is going to happen in the next iteration? In the next iteration, when humans says, do you remember my name? Do you know my name? Can you tell me what will happen in this iteration? What will happen in this turn? I will come to the output parser, Kripa. Just give me some time. We'll come to that point soon. First of all, this is going to go to the context builder. What is the job of context builder? Yes. What is the job of context builder? Thank you so much for that, Rajiv. I informed the team. I hope you are happy now with that excellent certificate from the Pune team. So coming back, so this is the context builder. Context builder's job is to append something called a system prompt. You remember that? Context builder's job is to append the system prompt. Once the system prompt is appended, that context is going to go to the large language model, right? That context is going to go to the large language model. Now, when the context goes to the large language model, LLM is going to generate a response. What kind of a response do you think LLM is going to generate in this case? LLM will simply say, I do not. It will say, no, I can't remember. I can't remember. You remember the Gajni effect we discussed yesterday? Now, what I want you to think about is how do you fix this issue? How do you fix this issue in case if you have to make LLM answer the question at the memory? Amazing. Can we see the idea is, can we rather than throwing away the previous historical conversation, rather than throwing away the complete historical conversation, can we store these conversations inside a container, inside a memory? Can we store these conversations inside the memory? Are you getting it? If we can store these conversations inside the memory, can we also connect this at the context builder? Can we also connect this at the context builder? Now, if we can connect this at the context builder, can you tell me what will happen in case if somebody asks this second question, do you know my name? In case if somebody asks this question, do you know my name? You know what will happen? What will happen here? Oh, sorry. What will happen here is, first thing, to this question, to this human prompt, system prompt is going to be appended. Are you getting it? You will append the system prompt to this question. After system prompt, what else is going to be appended? All the historical messages are also going to be appended over here. All the historical messages, historical list of messages will also get appended over here. And then what do we do after appending these two things? Then we will add the most recent message. In this case, the most recent message is, do you know my name? Are you able to see how huge this context can become? This will be the context which will go to the large language model. Now, when LLM gets this question, do you know my name? LLM will also see the complete list of historical messages. And will it be able to tell that your name is Kanav or maybe XYZ in case if you ask it? Yes. Now, whose job is it to attach all the historical list of messages? Whose job is it to attach the historical list of all the previous messages? Context builder's job is to attach the list of all the historical conversational messages. The context builder, job of context builder is to build the context that can be given as an input to the large language model. Are you now understanding that applications built by developers, they will definitely take human prompt in the input, but along with human prompt, they don't directly just pass that human prompt as it is. They will have an intermediary stage in between that will be responsible to attach things like system prompt, things like historical previous conversations, and then your current message is going to be attached so that LLM will be able to answer questions in case if you ask something referencing something that you have discussed before in the current session. Otherwise, as we discussed earlier, LLM doesn't remember all the previous historical conversation. You have to manually inject the previous historical conversations in the context while passing it to the large language model. Is this part clear to all of you? Again, I will ask this question: what will get attached to this human prompt? Before this human prompt goes inside the large language model, what all is going to be attached to this human prompt? System prompt. Great. What else apart from his system prompt? Historical messages are supposed to be also attached. Who will do this attachment? Who will do this attachment? Who will do this modification? The context builder component is going to do this modification. Who will build the context builder? Who will build the context builder? You or a developer building this entire application's responsibility will be to develop this context builder. Is the idea clear to all of us? Is this whole idea clear to all of us? Amazing. Now, remember that the context that is given to large language model, all right? The context which is given to large language model cannot exceed. Can you please tell me what? The context given to large language model cannot exceed dash. Can you fill this dash? Context which is passed to the large language model should not exceed the context window. You remember yesterday we discussed about something called as context window? Yes. Context should not exceed the LLM's context window. And do you remember? Depending on the LLM, for example, if you use Haiku, what is the context window of Haiku? Yesterday we have already seen context window of Haiku is 200,000 tokens. What is the context window of Opus? What is the context window of Opus? It was 1 million tokens. Right? So please remember that your LLM cannot accept a context which has more than the context window defined. The number of tokens should be within the context window. What and who decides the context window? Very good question. People who design the LLMs. You remember there were companies we discussed on day one, multiple companies who have developed the large language models. These researchers who are working in the company while designing these large language models decide how much context has to be given to the large language model they built. All right. So they will try to configure the transformer using different configurations. So there is a algorithm called as transformers, which is actually used to build the large language models. So they will use that transformer algorithm with various configuration to design to define the context window and various other parameters within it. I hope that is clear. All right. Now, we will design this entire system using something called as LangChain now. Do you see the same three components on the screen within your application? Over here, I have mentioned, instead of context builder, I have mentioned something called as template. All right. Niranjan, yesterday we have already discussed about what context window is. Please try to have a look at yesterday's lecture. You can find it on our YouTube channel to understand what context window is and what it really does. All right. To keep it very short and simple, context window is the maximum limit of how many tokens you can insert inside the large language model in a given single iteration. All right. In a single conversation, for example, when you pass this user prompt, the template or the context builder is going to insert or inject various other components like system prompt and historical messages to the user prompt, right? So that the context defined by the context builder should never exceed the context window. If it exceeds the context window, it will simply, the large language model is simply going to throw an error. Yes. So as somebody has clearly mentioned, template is the other name of something called as context builder. Do you remember the framework we will be using to design the application? What is the name of framework we will be using to design the application? We will be using LangChain. In LangChain, in the LangChain framework, they call context builder as template. All right. That's why I just kept template over here so that it matches to what I will be showing you next. Is this part clear to you? Now, who designs the template? We will learn how to design the template in just a moment. After designing the template, we also need to attach a chat model. When I say chat model, what is the meaning of chat model? Chat model means nothing but large language model. All right. When I say chat model, it means nothing but large language model. Do you remember various ways to access large language model? And if you can remember that, can you tell me how many ways yesterday we have seen practically? How many ways yesterday we have seen practically? Yes. Out of 5 ways, yesterday we have seen 2 different ways. We have seen how to use Cohere. We, we did the setup, complete setup of Cohere, and we were able to identify, get the API key from Cohere page. And we were also able to go to Grok, GROQ, and we were able to identify another API key to access Grok models as well. Is this part clear to you? Is this part clear to you? Now, before I proceed further, I just want a quick vote from all of you. Vote on how many of you want to write some implementation parallelly with me so that I can show you the complete setup. Would you like to do some implementation parallelly with me? Will that be fine if I can give you some hands-on activity during this session so that you don't have to worry about learning new items later? Amazing. So I will try to share, see, all my implementation I will do within something called as, have you ever heard of something called as Jupyter Notebook? Have you ever heard of something called as Jupyter Notebook? Most of you must be having it installed on your system, right? Most of you must be having this installed on your system. If you do not, if you don't have this installed on your system, do you at least have Python installed on your system? Do you at least have Python installed on your system? See, this is the bare minimum I expect from you. Python should be installed on your system. If Python is installed, I can show you various experiments in today's session. Yes, VS Code is completely fine. Either Jupyter Notebook or VS Code is completely fine, but I will focus on Jupyter Notebook today. On the 5th day, I will also show you some implementations on VS Code as well. All right. Today and tomorrow. Today plus tomorrow. I will not come out of Jupyter Notebook. All right. But on last day, 5th day, I will discuss some implementations on VS Code. GPU is not needed. See, GPU will be required in case if you are running large language models on your system. I won't be running LLMs on my system. What will I do instead? I will try to use the models hosted on Cohere, official cloud, or I will use Grok cloud in order to basically run the large language models. I won't run LLMs on my system. You can use online Jupyter Notebook as well. That's completely fine. Online is also completely fine, but I will show you an offline setup really quick. How many of you were able to find a Jupyter Notebook setup yesterday? I dropped in the Discord community. In the Discord community, I've already shared the complete step-by-step process on how to set up Discord. How to set up Jupyter Notebook. Let me try to give you a walkthrough of that today in this session. Second thing, do you remember I promised something for today? Google Colab will work, Mohan, so you can feel free to use Google Colab. Do you remember yesterday I told you that there'll be something else I will show you. This was wave 1, this was wave 3, and there was a wave 4 which is used by most of the enterprises. You remember? There was a wave 4 I discussed to access LLMs. This wave 4 is something which is used by most of the companies. Nobody in the company, when you start working, is going to expect you to build applications with direct Cohere APIs or Grok APIs. they will mostly expect you to use cloud infrastructure in order to design applications. For example, one of the cloud infrastructure we spoke about was Azure, another was AWS, and the third one was GCP. These are the three most important cloud infrastructures which cover majority of companies and their implementations. On Azure, there is a service called as Foundry, Microsoft Foundry to be more precise. On AWS, there is a service called as Bedrock, and on GCP, there is a service called as Vertex AI. Let me now try to show you Foundry. Are you interested to see? First, let me try to clear that up so that we can jump into something called as this entire application development. This is something I had kept for today, just because I wanted to show you one more way. And I didn't want you to get confused with the previous two ways we have seen so far. Now, some of you might be thinking when I say cloud, maybe I don't know how complicated it can be. You look at my screen, try to understand the whole process of how do I configure Azure Foundry, and you tell me how complicated it is. It is really. Is that clear to all of us? Can I start sharing my screen and show you the whole process? Amazing. So let me quickly jump into my screen and open a browser. And within this browser, let's start checking. Let's start have a look at let's have a look at the complete process. The first thing I'll do is I will go to Azure website, and the website is hosted at portal.azure.com. All right, this is the website. If possible, you can just make a note of it on your in your notes. Wherever you are maintaining the notes, you can just mention the notes step by step, and wherever possible, try to take the screenshot so that you can keep it in your notes, saying that this is a complete process. Tomorrow, let's say if you start working in a company and they expected you or they expect you to work on Azure, you will know quickly. You can go through the notes and you can quickly see what is the complete process to actually set this up. If this is clear, can you please let me, or can you please drop a thumbs up in the chat so that I can show you the whole process? Do we need to create an account? As of now, I want you to just look at the screen. I don't want you to create an account because this can cost you. This is not a free way. This is a paid way of maybe of uh, building or connecting your application with the large language model. Just look at the screen and try to see how complicated this process is or how simple this process is. Is that clear? If this is clear, can I now show you how to work with Azure Foundry? Perfect. Now let me try to go to this website. I will copy this website URL and put it in your chat as well, so that just in case if somebody wants to make a note of it, please do that. Let me click on this. It will log me in. Hopefully, I will be logged into my Azure portal. Just in case if I am not logged in, it will do the logging in for me. Do you see I have my name, my profile listed over here, meaning that I was successfully logged in inside this Azure portal? The first step, is it clear to all of us? If you are not logged in, you have to create an account and you have to log into the portal. Yesterday, we have already logged into Cohere. We have logged into Grok as well. Similarly, you have to have an account in order to log into Microsoft Azure cloud platform. This is how Microsoft Azure cloud platform looks like. I hope some of you are having or looking at it for the first time. And if that is the case, welcome to this particular cloud platform. And this is how simple it looks like. Maybe it looks a little overwhelming to you, but it is a very simple cloud interface, dashboard interface for Azure Foundry. Now, can you tell me what do I need to do in order to access large language models on Foundry? What do I need to do in order to access large language models on Azure? I need to search for Foundry. Amazing. Foundry, please make a note of it. Microsoft Foundry is a service name which allows us to access LLMs through Azure portal. All right. So what will I do? I'll try to look for a service over here called as Microsoft Foundry. 2 to 3 months before Microsoft Foundry was named as Azure Foundry, they have renamed it recently to Microsoft Foundry. Earlier, they used to call it as Azure Foundry. Now they have renamed it to Microsoft Foundry. If possible, make a note of that as well. If you are working on Azure Foundry, it means it's a deprecated one. Nobody is going to use it in few more weeks. Microsoft Foundry is something that is the most latest one, which is the updated version of Azure Foundry. Let me now click on this. All right, let me now click on this. Now, do you see after I clicked on it, I came to Microsoft Foundry dashboard. Is this part clear to you? Everybody understood how many steps did I perform so far? I launched how many total steps? 2 steps. First step, go to your Azure portal. What is the second step? See, step number 1, go to the Azure portal. Step number 2, go to Microsoft Foundry. Got it? Step number 1, go to the Azure portal, log into the Azure portal. Second step, go to Microsoft Foundry by searching in this search bar. Now, once you have come to the Microsoft Foundry, in Azure, whenever you use any service, you have to first create please make a note of it. Before using any service, you have to create a resource for that service. Are you getting it? In order to use any service, you have to first create a resource for that service. And how do we do that? If you can see, there is a button to create a resource. Is that clear? See, as of now, what does it mean? Do not worry about so many things, Akhilesh. Azure in itself can take few months for you to understand properly. Just try to have a look at the process as of now and try to understand how easy or difficult. You tell me yourself after looking at this entire process. Let me first complete the whole process and then you tell me how difficult was it. I can guarantee you will say it's at least, you won't say it is way too difficult. You will say it is average or simple only. In case if you already have some exposure to cloud platforms, you will say it is a very simple process. If you do not have any process, if you do not have any exposure to cloud platforms, you will say it is like average, not very difficult, the way you might be thinking about it in your minds. All right. So let me now try to show you the next step. Step number 3, can somebody tell me what has to be done? Step number 1, sign into the Azure portal. Step number 2, go to Microsoft Foundry. Step number 3, what is the step number 3? Step number 3 is create a Microsoft Foundry resource. Create a resource. And you will see that button over here itself when you come to the Microsoft Foundry. Let me click on that. Now, when you click on create a resource, you have to simply fill this form. Let me show you what has to be done while filling this form. The first thing you have to do is you have to provide the resource group. In simple terms, you have to just give a name to your resource. You just remember, right? Step number 3 was to create a resource. In order to create a resource, there are few steps we have to follow. So step 3A is to create a resource group name. All right. So let me click on create new. And over here, I will just call it as RG meaning resource group Foundry. I will just name it something, resource group Foundry, 5 days workshop. Is this part clear to all of us? Is this part clear to all of us? Perfect. Do you see a tick here? When you see a tick here, it means that this name is available. It is not already existing name of anything else on my Foundry portal. All right. So let me, yes, this is the accepted name. If it says across, you have to give some other name. And once it says, or when it displays a tick, you just click on OK. It will populate the field with the name you just provided. Step number 3B. 3B is to give a name to this instance. All right. So I will just give it a name like this, INST Foundry 5 days workshop. That's it. Nothing more than that. I will just call this resource group as RG. I will keep this name as INST, so that I know that this name belongs to the instance name. What is this? Do not worry about it for now. I'm just giving it some names, some variable names, so that unique variable names, so that I can get my Foundry up and running. Is this part clear to you? Is this part clear to you? Yes or no? Now, what has to be done next? How many things did I change on this page so far? How many things did I change on this page so far? Wonderful. You don't have to do anything else. Just scroll down. There is nothing else to change. There is nothing else to change. Click on review plus create button on this page. When you click on create, review plus create, how many total steps we did? 2 steps. This is the third step. Click on review plus create. When I click on this review plus create, it will say running final validation. Let it run for few seconds. It will hardly take 30 seconds to run. And then after completion, it will simply say, we are good to go for the next step. You see that? It just appeared like this. Now I can click on create button. Earlier it was grayed out. Now we have a blue button called as create. Once I click on this, my resource will be created. So what is the step number inside third step? This is 3D, right? This is 3D. What is the D step inside third step? To click on this create button. When I click on this create button, it says initializing some resources. Let's wait for this to complete. It typically takes 30 to 40 seconds to finish this initialization. And once this initialization gets finished, we will redirect automatically to a new page, which should say deployment successful over here. Instead of deployment in progress, it should say deployment successful. It takes somewhere around 30 to 40 seconds to finish this deployment. Now, before I show you anything else, and while we are waiting for this deployment to succeed, can you please remind me step number 1? Yes, we can use Microsoft LLMs or LLMs hosted by Microsoft itself. What is the first step? First step is to open the portal. Perfect. To open the portal, to sign into the portal. What is the second step? What is the second step? After logging into the portal, what do we do in the second step? Search for, do you search for Azure Foundry or do you search for Microsoft Foundry? Please remember Foundry, there is no A in Foundry. It is Foundry. There is no A inside this Foundry. All right. The second step is search for Microsoft Foundry. What is the third step? What is the third step? Step number 3 is to create a resource. Step number 3 is to create a resource. Under step number 3, creating a resource, what do we do? What is 3A, step 3A? Step 3A is to give a name to your resource, right? Provide a name to the resource group. What is the step 3B? What is step 3B? After giving the name to resource group, you have to give the name to instance. All right? Instance name. Provide the instance name, a unique instance name. Can you tell me 3C, step 3C? Step 3C was click on review plus create. Amazing. Step 3C was click on review plus create. And what is the final step? Step number 3D, click on create. Step 3D was click on create. Now, till now, was it difficult or easy to understand? Whatever steps I completed, were these easy or difficult to understand? Easy, right? You just have to perform all these steps step by step. And whenever you do this for the first time, please note that you follow the same sequence I did. All right. Otherwise, if you mistake or if you try to basically do something else before the step number 1 or step number 2, you will definitely get errors. This is something you have to remember, that these are the steps you have to perform. I've done these steps hundreds of times. I don't have to look at some notes in order to perform these steps anymore. All right. But for the first time when you do it, maybe for first few days, you have to keep these notes in front of you while performing these steps. Got it? Is this part clear to all of us? Once the resource is created, now I can get into the actual Foundry portal. Step number 4. Step number 4 is to launch an actual Foundry portal. Please make a note. Step number 4. Step 4 is to launch an actual Foundry portal. Are you getting it? Step number 4 is to launch an actual Foundry portal. Are you ready to see how to launch the actual Foundry portal? Are you ready to see how to launch the actual Foundry portal? Perfect. Please make a note of it. Step 4A. All right. Step 4A is to search for Microsoft Foundry again. Search for Microsoft Foundry again. When you see the Microsoft Foundry, click on that. Do you remember this page? I think from step number 2, you already remember this page, right? This page contains a button called as create a resource. All right, come back to the same page, which we saw in the step number 2. Now, can you tell me where do I click in order to check my created resources inside this Microsoft Foundry? Correct, Lakshmi. We have this button called as all resources, right? There is a button called as all resources, or you can also click on view all resources. We have already created the resource. Now what we can do is we can look at the resources created. Clear to all of us? Was it simple to understand? Let me click on view all resources. When I click on all view all resources, can you tell me which one I just created? There is one which existed from before, and there is one which I just created. Which one did I create? I created the second one, the below one, right? Yes. You have to click on this. What is step 4A? Step 4A is to click on view all resources. After clicking on view all resources, you click on the instance you have created. You remember we gave a name to the instance name. So you click on that name. This is INST Foundry 5 days workshop. Let me click on this. When you click on this, it will open a new page. It will open a new page. Now it is up to you to decide where to click and help me understand what do I do. Where do I click in order to complete my step number 4? Amazing. Correct, Soumya. What about others? Are you able to identify what has to be done in order to complete the step number 4? Yes. In order to complete step number 4, I just need to click on go to Foundry portal. All right. It will take a few seconds. When you do it for the first time, it will take a few seconds. But soon after that, you'll be able to get into your Foundry portal. Now, when we go to Grok, when we go to Cohere, do you remember we were able to fetch something from Cohere and Grok? What was that something we were trying to fetch from there? API key. Do you see the API key directly listed on my Foundry portal? It says, welcome, Kanav Bansal, and this is your API key. Click on this copy button and start building applications using our models. Are you all able to understand the process? Are you all able to understand the process? Now, what is the only thing which comes to your mind? How many of you are able to think that what LLMs are available on Foundry? What all models are available on Foundry? How do I see? See, you get the API key, but what all models are available on Foundry? How do I check that? In order to do that, you have to click on this button, Discover. Are you getting it? So step number 5 is to discover already existing models on Foundry. How do you do that? Step number 5, you click on Discover button. When you click on Discover button, a new page appears. On this new page, from the side panel, can you please tell me where do I click in order to find all the large language models? After clicking on Discover, where do I click? I click on Models. When I click on Models, it will show me how many total models are accessible for me to use. It will take a few seconds to load. Now, do you see how many models Microsoft provides me to use? 202 models. Please note that in reality, Microsoft has about 11,000 models right now currently available for enterprises to use. If you click on all models, you will be able to see somewhere around 11,000 models on this Foundry portal. Microsoft is one of the largest enterprise platform that provides you so many large language models to access. And do you see something interesting? In order to get the access to Opus, Haiku, Sonnet, all these models, you don't have to now go to Anthropic official provider. You can come to Foundry and you can get the access to their models. Anthropic, you remember I told you yesterday, Anthropic has an agreement with Microsoft Foundry, AWS, Bedrock, as well as GCP Vertex AI. And under that agreement, Anthropic sells their model through Microsoft Foundry as well. Apart from Microsoft Foundry, do you see that paid model of OpenAI are also available? These are not GPT OSS models. These are paid model of GPT. Foundry has the access to these GPT models as well. And do you see some interesting model names which we have already explored earlier in the course? Cohere is something we have seen yesterday how to access. And even Kimi K2.7 is available directly for you to use. Isn't it interesting? Can you please rate your excitement on a scale of 1 to 5? Just want to see how many of you have understood this and are excited looking at all of this. Somebody asked this question, are these models free to use? Are these models free to use? What do you think? Will these models be free to use? No. All these models you have to pay as you go. All right. You have to pay as per the model's terms and conditions. You have to pay. Unlike Grok or Cohere, yesterday I've already shown you two different ways, right? They both those ways were free to use. But if you try to use the API key, which I showed you before, let me click on home again. Let me click on home again. The API key, which I showed you before. See, I'm not showing you this API key because if somebody gets the access to this API key in this session, they can start using my models, which will unnecessarily make me pay for the models you are using, right? You can start using the models on my platform, and I do not want that. So that's the reason why I am not showing you this API key. Even if you do not have my access, login access, if you know only the API key, you will be able to get into my models. You can start using the models from my Foundry portal. And I don't want you to do that. I don't want anybody to do that. And that's the reason I'm trying to keep it safe and secure. I'm not unhiding this API key. How much are you supposed to pay? You can always identify that by going to this portal. I don't want to spend any more time on this Foundry. Just wanted to show you how easy it was to get the access to Foundry and start exploring models on Foundry portal in reality. There is a lot in Foundry. There is a lot we have in Foundry. In our data science with generative AI course, we typically get into more details on how to start using Foundry as a part of your generative AI exploration. So I won't be covering that here because it will easily take 1 or 2 days for me to explain completely how to start accessing Foundry and what all you can do on Foundry. If you see something interesting, Foundry has an option to also start building agents directly here itself. All right. So there are so many interesting things we can actually do on Foundry directly. And I won't spend any time here, as I mentioned before, but just before I leave this portal, want to quickly take a vote on your understanding on a scale of 1 to 5 on this Foundry right now. Do you feel a little comfortable with Foundry portal? And I hope tomorrow, if some company asks you, do you know Foundry or are you willing to work on Foundry? Will you be able to say yes? Will you be able to say yes, that I am willing? I know how Foundry portal looks like. And I hope you are also able to appreciate the fact that working on Foundry is not like rocket science, right? People will exaggerate that they know Foundry, but working on Foundry is not actually rocket science. It's like clicking few buttons and that's it. All right. So there are so many more things. I don't want to again get into all those things for now. Right now, let's try to come out of Foundry and try to start doing something else. How do we select or decide which model needs to be used as per the real implementation? That's a very huge topic to explore, Soumya. Typically, we do multiple like experimentations in order to identify the best possible model to use. Apart from that, we also need to look at model capabilities as well as need to map the model capability with the problem we are solving to actually identify whether that model will work for us or not. But sooner or later, you will end up using maybe some evaluation criteria to identify if a problem you are solving is that problem actually something that can be solved using the model of your choice. If not, you have to definitely swap the model. Remember, there are so many models available. You should never be concerned about that. There are so many models available. You should only be concerned about how to access these models. You should be aware of various ways to access these models for so that in case if one model is not working, you should be able to connect your applications with some other model. All right. Is there an alternative to LangChain? Yes, there are multiple alternatives, but LangChain is the most popular application builder out there available right now. One of the alternative we have already seen in yesterday's session. Can somebody remind us what was that LangChain alternative we have seen yesterday? It was a no code tool. Yes, Langflow. Langflow is an alternative to LangChain, right? But if you want to look at an alternative programming alternative, for that you can actually explore something called a semantic kernel. There is something called a semantic kernel. There is something called as Autogen. There is something called as Creo AI, and all these platforms, all these libraries, frameworks are the same, similar to what LangChain does, but a little different than what LangChain actually does. Are there more services like Foundry by Microsoft? There are many services, Sanket. But Foundry is the only service that provides you the unified access to so many large language models. All right. If you ask me this question, is there an alternative of Foundry? Can somebody tell me or somebody answer that question? Do we have any alternative to Foundry? Is there any alternative to Foundry? Yes. AW has an alternative to Foundry called as Bedrock. Are there other alternatives to AWS, Bedrock, or Microsoft Foundry? Yes. Vertex AI from GCP is another alternative to these two options. Amazing. Perfect. All right. So now let's try to, yes, Databricks also provides us another alternative called as Mosaic AI. So you can use that as well in case if you want to. Perfect. Let me share my screen, the whiteboard screen, and try to understand something interesting here. Let me know when my screen is visible. Visible? Perfect. Now, what I will do is I will now try to show you how to build some custom applications and what is the need of custom applications. See, it's not always the case that you will or your problems are going to be solved using ChatGPT or Claude Desktop. It's not always the case that you will be able to solve the problems using already existing tools. Sometimes you have to build your own tools. Sometimes you have to design your own applications. For example, let me try to take a small example to make you understand why or how at Innomatics we can actually start building something that can solve some real-time problem for us. I hope all of us know that Innomatics is an education platform, right? It's a edtech company. And since it's an education platform, a lot of students are enrolled into our courses. Students are enrolled into our courses. And once these students, they complete certain modules, for example, when they complete Python programming, exploratory data analysis, and maybe a few more modules like MySQL, Power BI, etc., they will start applying for jobs. And in order for them to apply for job, what happens? Student enrolls, and after completion of course, or after completing a few modules, they will start applying for jobs. Now, in order to provide jobs, we have a separate placement team. This team is going to talk to the companies. And what this team does is, this team brings multiple open job positions, so that our students can start applying for these open job positions. Is this part clear to all of us? Is the flow clear to all of us? Like how our organization works? Amazing. Now, when I say open job position, placement team is going to drop something called as a JD. Can somebody tell me the full form of JD? Yes, job description. Don't say Jack Daniels. So this is job description. Now, what is the purpose of job description? What is the purpose of job description if somebody knows about it? Yes. Job description is a document. It's a document that clearly explains what a company is looking for. Are you getting it? See, forget about CTC, forget about all these payment related details, salary related details. But job description is a document that actually contains the requirement of a company. Yes, as somebody has mentioned, the roles, the skill set, what kind of programming languages company looking for, what kind of roles and responsibilities company looking for in a candidate, the candidate they want to hire. Now, what is the first process company will perform in order to select the students? Are they going to give an interview opportunity to every single student that applies for that job by reading that job description? Company will provide a job description. We will post that job description for our students. What will start happening? Student will start applying. Student applies. How does student apply? Can somebody tell me what will student provide? Is there a document that student can also provide which tells what student knows? Resume. Perfect. Student applies by providing their resume. Now, you know what happens? Earlier, the companies, all these companies which hire from us, they used to actually manually map whether the resume shared by the student is actually mapping to the JD we are hiring for or not. But nowadays, you know what has happened? Nowadays, companies use ATS systems. Companies use AI systems, custom AI systems, which can actually identify the relevance of a student's profile with respect to the requirement company has by performing some operations. And we will speak about what those operations are very soon. Is this part clear to all of us? Rather than doing this manually, for example, a single job can attract up to 1,000 participants, right? Thousands of students can apply for a job. But are thousands of students, are they all eligible for this job interview? Maybe no. And how do you decide whether somebody is relevant or irrelevant? By matching whether the resume and JD has a perfect match or not. And the software that performs this matching is called as an ATS software. A lot of companies, I hope you must have been aware of ATS systems, which is used by companies to match the resume and automatically filter out bad profiles from good profiles. Clear to all of us? Is this part clear to all of us? Now, do you see at our company, this is even a bigger challenge? We are not hiring only for a single job or for a single company. We are hiring for multiple companies at once. And when we hire for multiple companies at once, there can be many students who will apply for all these companies. And it is very important for us to identify what profiles are relevant profiles and what are irrelevant profiles. There can be a situation where data analyst student can apply for an AI role. Is it a good idea to send a data analyst student for an AI role? Is it a good idea to send a data analyst student to an AI role? Not a good idea. Why? Because even if we send this student or even if company tries to interview this student, the student will not be able to answer any question in AI. Are you getting it? So like similarly, if let's say there is a student who is learning AI and there is a requirement in Java software development, is there a reason why we should or why should company interview this student? No reason, right? So this has to be properly filtered out. And just imagine a single company or a single JD having thousands of people applying for it becomes very, very complicated if somebody has to manually review each and every single resume. All right. So there are multiple systems all the companies nowadays uses. When Inomatics sends back for a specific job description all the resumes, companies will typically apply various approaches, AI approaches, custom AI approaches, which will ensure that they interview only the best of the best candidates as per what the candidate's resume is claiming, whether the candidate resume is actually mapping to the JD job description or not. Now, in order to solve this problem, what do you think has to be done? Let's say we have to solve this problem. ChatGPT cannot solve this problem. So what companies build is, they will build this kind of a system. They will build this kind of a system. There'll be a large language model. There'll be, can somebody guess this component? Can somebody guess this component? The first component, context builder. In LangChain's terminology, what do I call this context builder? In LangChain's terminology, what do I call this context builder? Yes, we call it a template. The output of LLM, is going to go to the next component, which is nothing but the output parser. Now, the input to this system is called as human prompt. And you know what will be the input to this system? The resume of a candidate. The resume of the candidate. JD of the role company is looking for can be a part of this context builder. Are you getting it? Student should not pass the JD, right? Student should not pass the JD. Student should only provide the resume. All right. So the input of this entire system is the resume uploaded by the student on our platform or maybe some form. Once the resume is uploaded by the student, JD has to be entered by maybe let's say the developer, and hence it becomes a part of your, can somebody guess, the system prompt? Yes, your system prompt can be your JD, or JD can be a part of your system prompt. You can have JD inserted or injected within the system prompt. Now, what is the job of this template? What is the job of this template? Job of this template is use the system prompt, build the context in simple terms. First of all, job of this is to build the context. What will this context contain? This context is going to contain three components. The first component is system prompt, system instructions, developer instructions. The second component will be JD, which will also be a part of the system prompt. And the third component is going to be the candidate's resume. Is this part clear to all of us? Is this part clear to all of us? Amazing. Now, what will the LLM do? What will the LLM do? Will LLM perform the operation of matching as per human's instruction or as per the system's instruction? Tell me. The system instruction. Perfect. The developer's instruction should allow LLM to ensure that the human is not providing any malicious instruction. And as per the human instruction, the JD and resume are supposed to be matched. And whenever LLM performs this operation, LLM is going to generate a completion. All right. LLM is going to generate a completion. And this completion is going to be given to the output parser. And output parser is going to generate the response. What should be the response here? What should be the response here? Maybe the response can be something like maybe a matching score, maybe matching score out of 10. Maybe it will say the resume has scored 5. All right. Maybe there can be a reason as well. What is the reason why it has scored 5? What is the reason why it has scored 10? That reason will also be a part of it. This is how the output can look like. This format is typically called as a dictionary format. This is called as a dictionary format or a JSON format. And just imagine, rather than, do you want to show this directly to a candidate? No, right? Most likely you won't show this directly to the candidate. Maybe you will store it in somewhere in your company's database, right? You will store this somewhere in your company's database. And hence it is very important for you to generate the response in the form of JSON, which can be easily uploaded on a company's database. Now, depending upon who is the consumer of your output, depending upon whoever is the consumer of the output, you have to perform parsing accordingly. If human is supposed to be the output, like the consumer of the output, if human is supposed to be the consumer of the output, what kind of an output is supposed to be generated? Not a JSON, but a proper human readable output. Yes, a text human readable output has to be generated in that case. In case if some other service, in case if some other software is a part of or is the consumer of the output, in that case, you have to generate the response always in the JSON form. So two types of output parsers. One is a JSON output parser or a dictionary output parser. And the second one is the text output parser. Where do you use the text output parser? How do you decide whether to go for text output parser or the JSON output parser? Yes, if human is the consumer, if the human is the consumer of the response, then perform text parsing. Otherwise, if some other software or service, if some software service or a computer is a consumer, try to generate the response which is computer friendly in simple terms in form of JSON. Is this part clear to all of us? If yes, can you please quickly drop your understanding rating so that I can understand if you are able to really understand it or not. Wonderful. All right. Amazing. Now, how do I build this system? How do I build this system? In order to build this system, what will I use? Python programming. And under Python programming, what do I use? I use LangChain. Let me show you something very similar to this system, but not exactly this system as it is. All right. Let me show you a different system, which also requires us to build something very similar to what I just showed you. Let me scroll down and show you another problem statement. Are you all ready to see this problem statement? Let's have a look at this. Let's say there is a company who sells various products. All right. There is a company who sells various products, or we can also expect it to be Inomatics, who basically teaches various courses, right? It can be anything. Let's say there is a company which sells various products. Do you agree that for a company who sells a product, it is very important for them to understand what their customer speaks about them? Right? The customer sentiment analysis has to be performed. Now, how does customer reveal what they are feeling about the product? How does customer speak, or what does customer provide in order to tell how they feel about their product? Yes, customer provide a feedback. Now, tell me what will be the nature of this feedback? What will be the nature of the feedback? See, rating definitely allows me to understand whether customer is happy or not. But do you agree, in order to understand what customer likes and what customer doesn't like, will only be identified from the feedback when customer writes, saying that I didn't like the delivery, but I like the product. I didn't like maybe XYZ feature, but I liked maybe ABC feature. Only from the feedback, you'll be able to identify what customer likes and what customer doesn't like about the product. Now, customer feedback is going to be provided in the form of text. Do you agree with that? Customer feedback is going to be provided in the form of text. But the problem is computers cannot directly operate on text. And it is very important for us to properly format this text so that it can be ready for analysis. All right, text cannot be directly analyzed. In order to analyze the text, we have to actually perform some operations on the text input so that some data analyst can now do their job properly. Is this part giving some clarity to you? For example, let's say feedback, I liked the product. This is feedback 1, feedback 2, I didn't like the delivery. Support is worst. Product is amazing. Now, imagine you have hundreds or thousands of these feedbacks. How do you analyze these feedbacks? In order to analyze these feedbacks, do you agree we have to actually sit and read each and every single thing? Are you getting it? In order to analyze the feedback, we have to sit and read each and every single thing. What we can actually do nowadays is to use some form of large language models. You know how we can automate this entire process? Yes, it can take forever in case if you manually perform this operation. If you do a manual review of feedbacks, this process can actually take forever. Now, rather than doing that, I can have a generative AI application powered by large language models. And what will be the job of this application? Whenever a feedback comes, try to convert that feedback into a JSON. Try to convert that feedback into a JSON. What kind of a JSON? Maybe try to have something called as the category. Category meaning what is the feedback talking about? Can somebody tell me what is the feedback talking about? The first feedback? What is the first feedback talking about? The first feedback is talking about the product. Got it? It is not talking about the delivery. It is not talking about the support. It is talking about the product. Tell me the sentiment behind this feedback. Is it positive or is it negative? Looks like the sentiment is positive. Tell me what is the description. Let's say if I want to have a short description. Anyhow, the feedback itself is very short, so I can directly put the description as the feedback itself. I liked, or maybe something like this. Customer liked the product. The description can be something like this. How many of you understood this process? Were you all able to understand this process? If yes, can you please quickly tell me what should happen for the second feedback? In case if I want to perform the same operation on the second feedback, what should be done? Let's say if I want to perform the same thing on second feedback, what should I write under category? What should I write under category? Category in this case is delivery. Customer is talking about delivery in this feedback. Are they happy with the delivery or sad with the delivery? Looks like sentiment is negative. They are not satisfied with the delivery. And customer, what is the description of this feedback? Customer did like the delivery. I hope you got this. I hope everybody understood this. If yes, can you please help me do the same operation on the next feedback? There is a third feedback. Can you please help me do it for the third feedback? In the third feedback, customer is talking about which category? Customer is talking about the customer support, right? The support which is provided by the companies. Are they happy or sad? Is it a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment behind that feedback? Negative sentiment. And what are they talking about? What is the description they have written? Or what is the description or a short summary of the feedback? Maybe we can just mention worst. Support is worst or worst is the description short summary of that feedback. Let's do it one last time for the last feedback received. Let's do it one more time for the last feedback received. Tell me the category of the last feedback, the fourth feedback, product. Amazing. What about product? What is the sentiment of product? Again, positive. And what is the description? Maybe I can just mention description is amazing. All right. Looks like description is amazing. Any questions here? Any questions here? All right. If no questions, can you please tell me how will this application look like? Overall, how will this application look like? What should be the components if I want to design such a application using generative AI systems? The first component has to be template. What should be the part of, what should be the template about? The template has to be about the instruction, developer instructions or system instruction should be about what kind of system prompt should be there inside the template. I should say, you are a helpful AI assistant. Maybe something like this I will mention in the system prompt. I will also mention that in the system, like in the system prompt, I will also mention that your job is to identify the customer feedbacks category. Your job is to identify the sentiment, and your job is to provide a short summary, a short description of what customer is speaking about in this particular feedback. Is that clear to all of us? Right? That will be the system prompt. After system prompt, what will be the input to the system prompt? What should be the input to the system prompt? Human prompt. But what will be the human prompt? Human prompt will be the feedback. Yes. The quiz is supposed to happen tomorrow, and the quiz is going to happen during the session itself. Where do I pass this entire thing? After the complete instruction is written along with the feedback, Where do I pass it? We call this as context. We call this as context. And this context is supposed to be passed to the large language model. LLM is going to generate a completion, and that completion has to be parsed by an output parser. Can somebody guess what kind of an output parser do I require if the output is supposed to look something like this? What kind of a parser is required in case if the output is supposed to look like this? Yes, JSON output parser is required, and this parser is going to generate a response in a dictionary format. Now, once this happens, can I store this in a database? If yes, do you agree that databases are going to contain tables? Yes, database is going to contain table. And how will the table look like? How many columns do I require in that table to store this entire data? This entire response? 3 columns. The first column can be category, sentiment for that category, and description. As of this example, the first products category, first feedbacks category was product. Second feedbacks category was delivery. Third was support. And the fourth was product again. Delivery, support, and product again. Got it? Sentiment for the first one was positive, second one was negative, third one was negative, and the fourth one was positive again. And there was some description as well. Now, how many of you agree that this data is easily analyzable? Like you can easily take this data, perform some pandas operations, matplotlib operation to visualize the customers' feedback and understand what customers are talking about products, what customers are talking about delivery, what customers are talking about support. Are you getting it? So this is how generative AI custom solutions are actually used in the industry. And this solution, which I just showed you, this solution that contains these 3 components is one of the most popular solution in generative AI right now, used in or across industry, various industries. For example, I have kept few examples here. After the session gets completed, I want all of you to explore these examples. There are 5 examples listed. I want you to explore this yourself. This is like your homework today. Please explore each of these categories. For example, how is this pattern utilized in support ticket triage? Somebody, I would suggest you to explore the support ticket triage and try to write about it, maybe through LinkedIn post. Somebody else can use the sales call notes and try to understand how, maybe just try to use Google in order to identify, or ChatGPT to identify how sales call notes can be handled using this particular feature, which I showed you, the application architecture, which I showed you before. Same thing goes for NPS mining of product reviews, resume parsing, and invoice parsing as well. Try to explore this and try to do your own research about how this pattern, which I just showed you, is very popular. What is this pattern called? This pattern is actually called as document to JSON. In the example which I showed you just before, can you please tell me what document to JSON is, what kind of a process are we doing? We are doing feedback documents are converted to JSON format. Do you all agree with that? Right? Feedback is a document which is getting converted to JSON using that generative AI system. In the resume parsing example, can you tell me what is the document which is getting converted to JSON? Over there, what is the document getting converted to JSON? In my first example, which I showed you, yes, over there, resumes were getting converted to JSON, so that we can safely store the result inside a database. And we can also maybe share rejection email or interview emails automatically to the students. All right, it's one of the very popular agentic AI systems which are getting used in the industry to analyze the resume, identify if the resume is up to the mark as per the job description. If not, reject it. Otherwise, send a interview schedule to the student who got shortlisted. If this is clear, can we now start looking into the way to build this entire application? Let's try to understand how to build this application. We will build a feedback intelligence system. All right. User is going to provide the input, and my job is to create an output that looks like this, a JSON output, so that this JSON, this dictionary can be safely stored on a database for further analysis. This is the complete architecture of my system. Do you agree we will take what is the user input in my application? We will take some user input. What is the user input in my application? The feedback. We are building a feedback intelligence system, not the resume intelligence system, Sakshi. So in this case, our input is going to be feedback. The feedback is going to go to the context builder. Context builder is going to contain system instructions, right? And it will attach the feedback to the system instructions. Once this has been done, the context will be provided to large language model. And the raw response, which is also known as completion, the raw response, which is also known as completion will be provided to the JSON parser or JSON output parser so that the final structured output can be generated from the feedback. Is this part clear to you? We will see that, Uday. We will see how we can actually enforce LLMs to generate JSONs in a moment. Again, let me try to repeat. As per the diagram shown here, user input is the feedback. User input goes to the context builder. User input goes to the template context builder. Context builder is going to append the system prompt with the feedback, right? The system prompt instructions are going to be appended with the feedback, and the output is going to be called as the context, right? This context is going to be instructions plus feedback. Where do you pass the context? You pass the context to large language model, chat model, or large language model. LLM generates completion. I am saying LLM generates, chat model generates raw response or completion. And this raw response or completion has to be properly parsed and validated using a output parser. And final output, a structured final output is going to be generated from here. If this is now clear, Aditya, I hope this is now making more sense. If it is clear, please drop a thumbs up, and also let me know how well are you able to understand this entire concept on a scale of 1 to 5. I know this can be a little complicated. People who are struggling to understand this, I would suggest you to rewatch this section in a video. You can find the lecture recording video on YouTube. I would suggest you to do that. It won't be easy to understand. If you are able to understand this, that is really very, very good. All right. So somebody from non-technical background says 4. So I expect technical people to actually understand this properly. Even if you are not able to understand, don't worry. Try to spend some time understanding this by watching the recorded session. Now, let's try to perform the last step. Tell me what is the last step to actually build this whole thing. Where do you get the recording? You get the recording on the YouTube channel. You can go to Innomatics Research Labs YouTube channel and find the recording under the live sessions. Are we all ready to build this system in LangChain? But before I do that, I will drop something on Discord. I want everybody to look at Discord and download the file which I'm going to share with you right now. I will share a file so that you can do the implementation parallelly with me. Doing it now on Discord. Just a second. All right, dropping it now. Just wait for a second. You should be able to see and download the file from there. Let me know if you can see the file and drop a reaction if you are able to find it. And please download it, unzip it, and be ready for my instructions, further instructions. This is the message I've dropped. You have this file. Once you click on this file, you should be able to download the file on your system. You see this download button, just click on that to download this. All right. I also want to know how many of us are going to do this implementation. That's okay. There is nothing dangerous. Uh, just trust me. I won't share any malicious code within this particular file. It's a simple zip file containing the code, which I'll show you. And you can do this hands-on parallelly with me so that you will be more confident about the whole implementation. All right? There is nothing dangerous in this file. You can take my word for that. Now, coming to the most important part. This file on my computer is present over here. When I unzip this file, the file you will get out of it will have an extension .ipynb. Are you all able to get the .ipynb extension file out of this zip folder? Yes? Can everybody please confirm really quick? Wonderful. Now, what we have to do is we have to run this file on a Jupyter notebook. How many of you are having a Jupyter notebook installed on your system? If you do not have a Jupyter notebook installed on your system, try to go to Google Colab, but try to use Google Colab or maybe Jupyter Notebook or VS Code in order to run this notebook. This notebook is going to either run in Jupyter Notebook or VS Code or Google Colab. Kripa, if you can wait for a few minutes, I can share. If somebody else can share the link so for the Discord community so that Kripa can join, will be really helpful. If somebody can put the link in the chat section so that Kripa can join the Discord community. I think that link was shared with everybody over the last days. But anyhow, let me try to continue and try to show you what has to be done next. Thank you so much, Niranjan. Kripa, you can click on these links in order to join the Discord community. Now, I would suggest you to click on Sakib's link in order to join the community because that's the invite link. You won't be able to join the channel without the invite link. So better to click on the link shared by Sakib to get into the Discord community. Now, I will do one small thing here. All right. Please note that this is the folder that contains this file. Can you please look at the folder name I am highlighting with the cursor and tell me what is the folder name in the chat section? I just highlighted a folder name on my screen. What is that folder name? Let me try to do that again. This is the folder that contains the files which you see over here. Let me double click on this folder. Let me bring it over here and keep it over here. Do you see? Workshops folder contain project one, a subfolder, and inside this folder, this is the content. Is this part clear to all of us? I have a workshop folder. Workshop folder contains project one folder. Project one folder contains these files. Now, what will I do is I will launch a terminal at this location. I will launch the terminal command prompt at this location. And these steps are already demonstrated in the Jupyter Notebook session, this particular file, which was shared to you yesterday in Discord community. I've already shared this file with you, which contains the complete list of how do you install Jupyter Notebook on your system. If you have already done this, good and well and good. Otherwise, please try to go through these steps one by one and try to perform these operations after the session gets completed. I will first launch a terminal on this workshops folder. On this folder, I will launch a command prompt, a terminal on my system. Once the terminal is launched, let me first verify if I have the Python version installed on my system or not. What do I do to do this? I will simply run Python hyphen capital V. When I hit enter, can somebody, I hope you are able to see this. I have a Python version 3.13.12 installed on my system. All right. So with this, I will be able to run the next step. Let me try to open that guide as well, setup guide as well, which is dropped on Discord already so that I can show you each and every single step parallelly over here. Let me keep the terminal here and the guide on the right-hand side. What was the step number one? Install Python. Since I have Python installed on my system already, no need to install Python again. Second thing, I verified whether Python exists on my system or not. How do I verify? I simply run Python hyphen hyphen version or short hyphen capital V I can write in order to check if Python exists on my system or not. If you see, I have already opened the workshops folder. Terminal is actually running on the workshops folder. Now, what do I do next? The next thing I need to do is I need to run this particular command to install virtual environment on my computer. Let me try to take this, paste it over here. Python -m venv space .env is the command I'm running in order to install virtual environment. Hit enter. It will take a few seconds. And once that is done, we have to run the next command. What is the next command? The next command is to activate the virtual environment. Now, when I say activate the virtual environment, if you are on a Windows machine, you have to run this command. Otherwise, if you are on a Linux or a Mac operating system, you have to run this. Since I am on a Mac operating system, I will run the first command, which is source.env bin activate. If I run this, I should be able to see the virtual environment activated on my system. Is this part clear to all of us? Till this point, is it clear? If you already have Jupyter Notebook installed, no need to do all these things. You can directly launch the Jupyter Notebook. Yes, you can also do this in PowerShell if you want. Now, what is the next step? What is the next step? We have to launch Jupyter Notebook. How do you launch Jupyter Notebook? You take this command, paste it here, and hit enter. What do you see? Is there a problem in launching the Jupyter Notebook? Is there a problem in launching the Jupyter Notebook? Yes, it says Jupyter Notebook not found. In case if Jupyter Notebook doesn't exist on your system, you have to install Jupyter Notebook by writing this command, pip install Jupyter. When you hit enter, it will take a few seconds. It will run some crazy installation. And once that installation is over, your Jupyter Notebook will be implemented, will be installed on your system. And it will say a message like this, successfully installed all of this on your system. Let me clear the screen. Let me type this clear command to erase everything from the screen. And now what will I do? I will run this after installing. I will run this command again. Ensure that when you run this command, your computer should have a working internet connection. Otherwise, that pip installation is not going to work perfectly. Let me hit enter. When I hit enter, it will take a few seconds and automatically it will launch this Firefox for me. See, it automatically launches the Firefox. The default browser installed on my system automatically gets launched. And under this, I can clearly see project 1 and project 2 folder, which were already here. I showed you before, right? Under workshop folder, I have project 1 folder and project 2 folder, which is clearly seen on this Jupyter Notebook as well. Can everybody please confirm if you are able to launch your Jupyter Notebook with this file .ipynb now? Or at least most of you must have been able to open Jupyter Notebook or Google Colab with this particular file. The process which I just showed you is a little complicated process, but I typically prefer to install Jupyter Notebook in this way so that I have a separate virtual environment to perform all my operations. If you are done with this, please click on the file to open the file in your system. How many of you are able to do this? If you are able to do this, can you please drop a thumbs up in the chat section? If you are able to see the exact same screen on your system as well, problem statement and all these details. Yes, you can use VS Code. You can use VS Code, you can use Anaconda, you can use Google Colab, you can use anything, but please ensure that this Jupyter Notebook executes on your system the way it executed on my system as well. Looks like a lot of us are able to do it. In case if somebody faces any difficulty in the installation, please do not shy away from asking questions in Discord community. Understood? In case if you are facing difficulty installing, please ensure that you ask questions in the Discord community if you are not able to make Jupyter work on your system. Got it? Now, somebody is asking, how do I get the Jupyter Notebook to get into the file? You can do one thing, Devaki, you can do one thing. Are you able to see this file on your system somewhere? Are you able to see this file on your system somewhere? Yes, perfect. Do you see on top, you must be able to see C/the complete path. See, I am on a Mac system, so it won't show me. But if you're on a Windows system, it will show you the complete path. C:/something, it will show you. Do you have that path? Can you please click on that and erase that from there? Just click on it and erase that. And type CMD. Type CMD and hit enter and tell me what happens. Click on it, erase the complete path, type CMD, hit enter and tell me what you see. Waiting for you. I'll wait for another 10 seconds. Yes, Soumya, you can copy paste that file in some folder and there you launch your Jupyter Notebook. All right, wherever you want to keep it, and there you launch your Jupyter Notebook. It will work perfect fine. Moving on, let me move on. Now, the first thing you have to do, done with that, can you please tell me, Devaki, what do you see there? Like, do you see a terminal, a command prompt, a black screen appear? You can use VS Code, Tushar. Already mentioned that. You can use VS Code. It is as safe as using the same process, the process which I'm showing you right now. You can do that as well. You can upload it as well, Maria. You can do that. You can keep workshop folder anywhere on your system, Lakshmi. Doesn't matter. You can keep it in the downloads folder. You can keep it in the desktop folder. You can keep it anywhere. All right. I have only provided you project 1 file. Under the workshop folder, I have 2 projects, right? But I've provided you only project 1 file, not the project 2 file. Now, I want all of you to focus on my screen. Before you do anything on your system, I want you to focus on my screen. Are you all ready to do that? If yes, please say a yes in the chat section. I want to hear a yes from each and every single person in this session right away. Wonderful. If you see the first part of this notebook, it contains the same screenshot which I showed you on the whiteboard. Let me come to the next line where I have this particular command and click on the run button Can everybody please do this and tell me whether you also see the same error? Can you please run this command yourself? The command is pip show langchain core. I've already kept this command in the Jupyter notebook. I want you to just run this and tell me whether you see this same error or not, the warning or the error or not. If you are able to see the same warning, drop a thumbs up. Wonderful. Now, in order to fix this, I need to install LangChain. All right. And how do we install LangChain? Can somebody guess? How do we install LangChain? In order to show LangChain, I need to first install LangChain. The question is, how do we install LangChain? The command to install LangChain is pip install LangChain. And I've kept an exclamation before. So let me try to remove this hash symbol so that this gets converted from a comment to an actual command. One beautiful thing about Jupyter Notebook is you can run the installation commands directly in the Jupyter Notebook. Let me click on this run button. And when I click on the run button, see the complete installation command is running. It is installing something and later it tells me successfully installed something on my system. Is this part clear to all of us? All right. So this entire thing will be installed on my system when I run pip install langchain. After this installation gets completed, now try to run this again. Try to run this again and confirm if you can see 1.4, 1.3, 1.2, some version of LangChain core here. If you are able to see it, please try to drop that version in the chat section. A lot of you see 1.4, some of you might see 1.5, some of you might see 1.3, but the version should be 1.3 or above. If it is 1.2 or below 1.2, it may or may not work properly. The experiments we see may or may not work properly. All right. Perfect. So most of us, we have the correct version. Let's try to proceed with the next step now. Are we all ready to go to the next step? Are we all ready to go to the next step? Yes. Amazing. Wonderful. Now let me try to go to the next step. In case if this is not working for you, if you are not able to see this version, even after successful installation, you know what we have to do? We have to go to kernel. Under kernel, there is an option to restart kernel. Just click on restart kernel. Click on restart kernel and try to run this pip show command once again. When you click on pip show command once again, restarting kernel is like you have installed something on your computer. Now you will try to restart your computer after the installation is done, right? So that the software you have installed runs smoothly. We are just restarting the Jupyter Notebook. In order to do that, you can just click on this restart kernel button. But as of now, let me try to proceed forward. I have already checked the version of LangChain core. Please make a note here, very important note. The note is what gets installed. What gets installed with pip install LangChain on your computer. This is very important. Please note there are 3 to 4 important packages which gets installed on your computer. The first package that gets installed on your computer is called as LangChain-core. Is this part clear to you? The first package that gets installed on your computer is LangChain core. You know what LangChain core has? LangChain core contains all the primitives like template and output parser. Do you know what this template and output parser is? Do you know what this template and output parser is? Do you remember I mentioned before that we need to create template while creating a LangChain or while creating a generative AI application. And we also need to have output parser. Yes, this is the context builder. This is the context builder, right? And this will provide you 2 options, JSON and text output parser. If you want to get this, it will be available inside LangChain core package. The second module that gets installed is called as LangChain itself. LangChain contains the agentic harness. Is this part clear to all of us? Tomorrow, I will explain you how to use this. We will learn to use this tomorrow. Clear to all of us? The third thing that also gets installed, I don't have to install everything separately. It gets installed when you say pip install LangChain. And the third thing is lang graph. This is used, it is used to build complex custom AI agents and workflows. I won't be able to cover this in this workshop. Won't be able to cover this. All right, because this is a very complicated concept on top of LangChain. This will be a little complicated for you to learn. Maybe we will do some other workshop. There we can maybe focus on only on LangGraph. But in order to understand this, first you need to understand LangChain. The final module that gets installed on your computer is called as LangSmith. This provides the observability into the AI applications you are building. All right. So whatever AI applications you are building, this particular LangSmith framework provides you the access to that. Tomorrow, in the first 20 minutes of the session, I will show you how to use LangSmith. Later, I will show you how to use LangChain. Today, I will show you how to use LangChain. Is this part clear to you? If yes, can you please tell me, as per my application, is there something missing? Is there a component missing which I didn't mention here? The chat model component, right? Do you agree? We need, but we need one more component. In order to get that component, we have to install something called as LangChain Grok, or we have to install LangChain Cohere. Right? Similarly, LangChain has hundreds of other integrations. LangChain says that in case if you want to install something, you can just provide the integration name as per their documentation. Is this part clear to all of us? Now, can you tell me what? Yes, we will use the API key. Yes, correct, Santosh. But in order to use API key, we need to first install LangChain Grok interface or LangChain Cohere. Anything is fine, right? Clear to all of us? Now, let's try to build the first component. Tell me what is the first component to build the application. In order to build the feedback intelligence system, what is the first component? The first component is template, right? Amazing. Can you please scroll down and try to have a look at this code? Do you see that this code contains LangChain core? From LangChain core, we are trying to import something called as a template, right? There is a class inside this LangChain core called as chat prompt template. And using this chat prompt template, I'm trying to create this context. I will provide the attendance link. Just wait for a few minutes, everybody. Let me first finish this and then we will try to come to the attendance part. All right. Please focus on the implementation. This is more important. Now, inside this messages, can you please tell me how many total type of messages do you see? There is one tuple which looks like this, and there is another tuple which looks like this. How many total tuples do you see? There are two tuples inside this context. By looking at these two tuples, if you observe carefully, both these tuples have two components each, right? The first component is this, and the second component of tuple is this content. In the next tuple also, we have the first component, this, and the second component has nothing but this particular component. What do you see, or what do you think is this? Yes, Surya correctly identified that this looks like a system prompt, whereas this looks like a human prompt. Do you remember human is supposed to provide the feedback? And what I've done is I've kept a small placeholder, a variable for human to provide the feedback. Whatever human provides will get connected over here inside this template. Human will provide the feedback. Human will say feedback is equal to this, and that feedback is going to be taken by this component, this template, and it will populate to create a complete context for us. Is this part clear to you? Is this part clear to you? Yes? Can all of you please click on this run button? Can everybody please click on this run button and try to execute this component? Now, what if you want to see the context? In case if you want to see the context, you can simply say template.messages. Once your template is ready, you can simply say template.messages and you will be able to see the complete context. Yes or no? Are you able to see that? See this? You will be able to get the context. Now, what are we supposed to do? Can somebody tell me a problem with this entire context? Is there some value that has to be inserted inside this context? Is there a value which is missing inside this context? Is it a context I can directly pass to the large language model? Not yet. In order to pass it to large language model, first I need to provide the feedback. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to pass a feedback to it. For example, the feedback can be, how do I pass something to the template? Please look at this. I will say template dot invoke. I will say template dot invoke. And inside the invoke, I will put a dictionary. Dictionary will contain a key value pair. The key has to be feedback, this exact same feedback. And value has to be anything you want to give in the feedback. I like the product very much. If this part is clear to you, can you please run this, click on the run button and show me this output? Take the screenshot and provide that screenshot in the Discord. Can you please run? Please do not use the same feedback. Try to change the feedback to something you want to keep and try to run this and show me the output. I want to see everybody execute this and drop a screenshot on the Discord. The syntax is this. I will provide the syntax in the chat. Please run this syntax and try to drop a screenshot in the Discord. I want to just see how many of you are able to actually do this. Wonderful, Venkatesh. Venkatesh, can you do one thing? Can you please put a dot just after? Do you see you have done feedback, product, expensive, and then there is a closing bracket. After this closing bracket, can you put a dot and say to message, to underscore message, put a bracket, and then run this again? I want you to do this, to underscore message, and run this again. And maybe put this inside the print statement, this whole thing inside the print statement, and show me what you see. Yes, wonderful. This is correct, Moni Yadav. This is perfect. Vamsi. Good job, Tripti. Yes, this is absolutely correct, Aryan. Yes, even this is correct, Manu. Wonderful. I see a lot of us are able to perform this operation really well. Are you ready to see one last option? Like, can I take maybe 2 to 3 more minutes of your time? If everybody is fine with that, I will show you one second component. The last component we will design tomorrow. All right, we will put together all the components tomorrow, but let me show you the second component as well. Can somebody guess what is the second component? This is your context. Please note, make a note somewhere that in LangChain, component is called using dot invoke method. This is a very important point in LangChain. Every component is called using dot invoke method. Second important point is in for template invoke expects a dictionary. Is this part clear to all of us? What I'm saying is LangChain, every component is going to be called using dot invoke. You see, the component template is called using dot invoke. And what is the template's input? Template's input is a dictionary. If you see this carefully, template's input is a dictionary. And this dictionary takes what? In this dictionary, the key should be the placeholder name. What is the placeholder name? By looking at this, you can clearly identify that my placeholder is feedback. Placeholder will always be in this curly bracket. If this is clear, can you please drop a yes in the chat section? If this part is clear to all of us, can you please drop a yes in the chat section? Amazing. Now, if you scroll down, you will see the code to implement something called as chat model. I want you to do one small change here in this code. Just remove this part. Remove this part. And what do you do here? You try to simply say Grok API key is equal to paste your Grok API key here. You remember yesterday I showed you how to create the Grok API key. Please go to the Grok console. I will do that. I will say console.grok.com. This is the last thing I'll show you for today. Remaining things will start from tomorrow onwards. Let me try to create a new API key because I didn't save this API key anywhere. I won't be able to retrieve it again. So let me try to create a dummy API key. Click on 7 days from now, expiry, click on submit button. And once the API key is generated, I will copy this and go back to my notebook. I will put the API key which I just created. Are you all able to see the step we have to perform? If I click on run button, can somebody tell me why do I get this error? Why do I get this error? Diksha, can you please drop the problem in Discord itself so that we can take it over from there and help you fix the issue? Yes, installation is missing. How do I install? You see, I've already kept the installation command here. You have to uncomment it and click on run button to install it. Once it says successfully installed, you can now proceed towards the last step, which is nothing but creation of a chat model. Let me try to click on run button and you will be able to create a chat model. Can somebody tell me what is the name of my large language model here? What is the variable name that holds my large language model here? What is the name of variable that holds large language model here? Variable that holds large language model here. The variable name is GPT chat underscore model. Can somebody tell me how do I call this component? What is the way to call any component in LangChain? What is the way to call any component in LangChain? Invoke. Amazing. And what I can do, I can simply say invoke this particular component with a message hi. Maybe something like, hi, my name is Kanav. Let's click on run button and see what happens. So you see, it says, hello, Kanav, nice to meet you. How can I assist you today? I hope we all are able to understand till this point. I want all of you to implement the entire code till this point. Tomorrow, I will start from here. I won't do anything else apart from this in today's session. But before I end the session, if I ask this question, what do you think will happen? If I say, do you remember my name? Tomorrow, you will have the quiz. You will have the quiz tomorrow. Let me try to run this again. If I click on run button, do you remember the property? LLMs are stateless. I didn't provide any history anywhere. It simply says I do not have a record of your name. If you would like to share it again, I will be happy to use it in our conversation. Right? There is no memory. I didn't provide any memory component at all for now. So it doesn't remember. It is a simple large language model, nothing more than that. So I just showed you how to use Python programming to call a large language model as well. It is that simple using LangChain. That's all for today. I will share my screen for you to look at the QR code. But before I end the session, I want a quick response from all of you about how easy this entire thing was on a scale of 1 to 5. Were you able to understand this? If you are able to understand it, how much you are able to understand it. And is the speed and way of explanation clear to all of you? Or do you want me to explain with more examples, or you want me to do something else to make you feel more comfortable? 7 crore again. Thank you so much. I wish you can actually send it to me. I'll share my address to you. I want all of you to do this implementation after the session gets completed. I know the session implementation can be a little fast. So please try to go to YouTube, watch this video recording, and try to implement this step by step on your system. All right. Thank you so much, Aryan, for sharing the link. Everybody, please ensure that you take the link shared by Aryan and mark your attendance quickly. Sat crore, Sai. 7 crore. If you have already opened phone pay, please enter 7 crore. All right, that's all for today. I hope you are liking the sessions. We have very limited time. Within 5 days, I cannot make you 100% job ready, but I hope you are able to appreciate how the sessions are properly structured and how the delivery looks like. If you learn it in a structured way, you can definitely learn anything. All right, so please have that confidence. Right now, the job market is very unstable. So I want all of you to learn these concepts really well as much as possible. And in case if you need any help from us, please feel free to ping us anytime, any day. We will be there to help you out. All right. And for the implementation purpose, please ensure you go to the you go to the YouTube and try to ensure that you watch the recording once again in order to absorb each and every single concept we have discussed today. All right. Implementation can be a little complicated for some of us, but it will not be complicated forever. If you do it for once or twice, you will get a hang of it. How do you implement can become much simpler for you. I will wish to see all of you tomorrow, same 6 p.m., and we'll try to continue our implementation in tomorrow's session. Uh, Please feel free to share your feedback in case if you want us to improve something or if you want us to implement something else as well. After this workshop gets completed, as I mentioned before, you will be comfortable with LangChain at least to start building some basic application as a developer. All right. But in order to become a pro, you have to experiment a lot, and I will share few more resources after we are completing this particular workshop so that you can take your learning further even beyond the sessions once they are getting completed. Thank you so much for today. See you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening, and please ensure that we all attend the session tomorrow as well, because agentic AI systems we are going to study tomorrow. Uh, all right, so I will definitely look at that, Sana. Can you please drop it again in the Discord so that I can quickly have a look at that? Yes, Sakib, I will look into Discord after the session gets completed and take it over there. All right. So I will reply back directly to you on Discord. In case if you have any questions, please feel free to ask there itself. And I hope today we have seen so many things, starting from Azure Foundry to building LangChain application. At least partially, we have built something in LangChain. Please feel free to write really good job, like really good posts today on what you have learned and what you have implemented in today's session. See you tomorrow. Bye. Take care and have a wonderful evening ahead.